from Mathematics 3. I am PPISOP student. I live in Semini, Selangor and now studying in APG campus, Kota Baru, Kelantan. Today, I am going to present my basic algebra coursework coded MTES1074 under the guidance of my respected lecturer, Puan Hajah Hidawati binti Cekman. This presentation is about the use of algebra modeling, specifically linear programming, to solve a real-world problem involving production and also profit optimization. Through this assignment, I learned not only how to manipulate equations and inequalities, but also how mathematics can guide logical decision-making in practical situations. Algebra is not just about numbers and formulas, it's a tool that helps us model real-life situations, making predictions and find the best solutions logically. So, in today's session, I will walk you through the entire process, starting from the importance of algebra, the problem statement, the formulating the equations, how to solve it, and also the interpretation of the result and the reflection of my coursework. So, I will also include a brief definition of the method that I will use to solve the problem so that we can all understand it clearly. Algebra is very important for our life, So what is the importance? Algebra is one of the most fundamental branches of mathematics. It allows us to represent real-life situations using symbols, letters, and equations. These algebra representations help us describe relationships, making predictions, and also find unknown values systematically and logically. In everyday life, algebra is used more often than we realize. For instance, businesses. What is businesses do? Businesses apply algebra when calculating profit, cost, and sales to make sure that they stay within budget and earn maximum returns. Next, engineers. Engineers use algebra to design and test model, from building structure and to developing new technologies, ensuring that every measurement and calculation is accurate. Next, scientists. Scientists also depend on algebra when analyzing data, making predictions, and forming equations that describe how things behave in this real world, such as relationship between speed, distance, and time. In this coursework, I apply algebra to a real-world production scenario to see how mathematical reasoning can help us maximize profit while using limited resources effectively. This shows that algebra is not just only a classroom topic. It is important life skill that connects theory with reality. The problem statement and the question? It must be long and difficult to understand, right? So let me now explain the main problem of this task. The problem statement is small manufacturing firm. You produce two types of product, which is we call as product A and also product B. Every week, the factory has limited resources. It receives only 240 units of raw material and also 300 hours of labor. These two resources are essential for production. So, to produce 1 unit of product A, the company uses 3 units of material and also 4 hours of labor. Meanwhile, for product B, they uses 2 units of material and also 3 hours of labor. However, there are also market limitations. profit of RM50, while each unit of product B earns a profit of RM40. So, what is the question? The question that we need to solve is how many units of product A and product B should be the company produce every week to achieve the maximum profit, while still staying within all the material, labor, and the market limits. So let's answer it together. So have you realized that this question is the core of the linear programming model that I will be presenting today. To begin solving the problem, I started by defining the decision variables, which is the unknowns that will determine the company's decision. So I used X and Y. So let X represent the number of product A produced in 1 week, and let Y represent the number of product B in 1 week. Since the production quantities cannot be negative, so both X and Y must be greater than or equal to 0. These two variables will be used to express both the objective function and the constraint mathematically. So now let's solve the question. Before this, I have said about linear programming. Do you know what is linear programming? Linear programming is a mathematical method used to find the best or most efficient way to achieve a goal when resources are limited. In simple terms, it helps us make smart decisions. For example, how to use money, time, or materials in the best possible way. We usually start with an objective function, which is an equation that shows what we want to achieve. For example, we write z equal to ax plus by, which is z is total cost, and x and y are the things that we can control. Then we have constraints, which are the limits that we must follow. For example, they are written as ax1 plus by1 must be greater than or equal to C, and also ax2 plus by2 must be less than or equal to B. These x and y must be greater than or equal to 0. When we draw this on a graph, the area that fits all the region is called as the feasible region. So this region shows that all the possible solutions that still follow the limits. Finally, the best solution, which is the maximum or minimum value, will always be at 1 or at the corner point of the region. So we check each corner by putting the values into the equation to see which one will give the best result. In short, linear programming helps us find the most efficient way to reach a goal using what we have our full method for solving real-life problems. So I want to give a brief overview about equations and also inequalities before we start into linear programming. So equations and inequalities are two important tools in algebra that help us represent real-life relationships. And equations shows that two expressions that equal. It use that equal sign. For example, the equation is 3x plus 2 equal to 8. It means both sides balance each other. In real life, equations are used when two quantities are exactly the same, such as total cost equal to total income. For inequality, on the other hand, shows that one side is larger or smaller than the other one. It uses symbol the greater than or the less than. For example, the equation is 3x plus 2y is less than or equal to 240. In linear programming, we often use inequalities instead of equations because real-world situations usually have limits. For example, limited materials, times, or money. So we use this one. So equations represent equal relationship, while inequalities represent restrictions or boundaries in real situations. It is the powerful method for solving real-life problems. So, once the variables are defined, I formulated the algebra model. So the objective of the company is to maximize profit, which is the objective function is P equal to 50x plus 40y. P represent the total weekly profit in ringgit Malaysia. So next, we include all the constraints. These are the mathematical expressions that represent the limitations faced by the company. So we need to find the constraint. For the first one, 240 units that product A and B produce. So product A, they produce 3 units, and product B, they produce 2 units. So the constraint must be 3x plus 2y less than or equal to 204p. X is product A and Y is from product B. So the next constraint is 300 labor hours. So product A produce 4 hours and also product B produce 3 hours. So the constraint must be for X plus 3y less than or equal to 300. For the next constraint is at most 60 units of product A produced each week. So the constraint must be the product A is X. Then the constraint is X less than or equal to 60. Next, at most at 80 units of product A, product B produced each week. So the product B, we know it as Y. So Y must be less than or equal to 80. For the last constraint, they cannot be negative. So the product A and also product B cannot be negative. So X must be greater than 0 and also Y must be greater than 0. So this all is the constraint that we need to draw in the graph. Alright, to find the best solution, I use the corner point method, also known as the vertex method. The corner point method is a technique used in linear programming to find the best or optimal solution. In this method, we have steps. First, we draw the constraint on graph. In problem statement, we must know the constraint and we draw the graph. So we imagine this graph already has the visible region. So next, we find the corner points of that region. In linear programming, the best solution whether it's minimum or maximum. So it always happens at one of this corner. So the corner point must be here or anything or anywhere. So we need to state the coordinate. For example, x1. Next, we substitute the each corner point into objective function, which is z equal to ex plus by. So the corner that gives the highest value is the optimal solution. So in short, the corner point method helps us check every possible option and choose the one that gives the best result. So I consider intersections formed by first x equal to 0 and y equal to 0. So the coordinate will be 0, 0. Number 2, x equal to 60 and y equal to 0. So the coordinate will be 60, 0. Number 3, x equal to 0 and y equal to 80. So the coordinate will be 0, 80. This coordinate is just I consider intersections. So next, 0, 0 is trivial corner, so we do not do anything with it. Next, 60, 0, we check the constraint and we substitute the value of x and y, which is x is 60 and y is 0, and both of them is feasible. It conclude in feasible region. Also 0, 80, both of them is include in feasible region. Next, intersection of level line, 4x plus 3y equal to 300. So if we go through with the equation, 60, 20 is feasible. Next, also the same, 15, 18 is feasible, and also this one, when we go through the equation, they will be y less than 0. If we go back to the question, x and y must be greater than 0. So the equation is rejected. So we form a graph from the feasible region, from the considered coordinate that we do. So we have 0, 0, 60, 0, 60, 20, 50, 80, and also 0, 80. So we form the graph. So it will be like this. So we have come to this part. So in this part, we want to evaluate the objective function, which is b equal to 15x plus 41. In this part, we want to find the maximum profit that produced for product A and product B in a week. So here we have 5 coordinates that we got from the corner point method and also from the graph. With this coordinate, we need to substitute each x and y into this objective function. So for the first coordinate, 0, 0, we substitute this into this objective function. So it will become b equal to 50, 0, and then we solve it. So it will become 0 plus 0, and the profit is 0, which is the first coordinate we got 0 profit. Next, the next coordinate, p equal to 50 in bracket 60 plus 40 in bracket 0. So we solve it. It will become 50 multiplied by 60, 3,000 plus 0. So the profit for the next coordinate is ringgit Malaysia 3,000. For the third coordinate, we have 60 to 20. So we substitute 50 in bracket 60 plus 40 in bracket 20. So it becomes 3,000 also plus by 800. So if we solve it, it will become 3,080. So for the third equation, we got ringgit Malaysia 3,800. For the fourth coordinate, we have 15, and also 80. We substitute as usual. E equal to 50 in bracket 50 also plus by 8. So here we get 750, and also here we get 3,200. So when we solve it, we get ringgit Malaysia 3,950. So the fourth equation is here. Now for the last coordinate, we have 0, 8. So we substitute it. B equal to 50, 0 plus 40 in bracket 80. So we solve it plus 3,200. So the profit must be 3,200. So the last coordinate we get the profit 3,200. So what do we get from this? If we analyze this profit, we found that the fourth equation, the fourth profit get the maximum profit, which is 3,950. So the product A produce 15 units, and also the product B produce 18 units. So this will be the profit. Based on the analysis, the optimal production plan is to produce 50 units of product A and also 80 units of product B per week, yielding a maximum profit is ringgit Malaysia 3,950. When I checked the constraints, I found that the labor constraint was exactly used up, which is meaning that all 300 hours of labor were utilized. This is known as the binding constraint. This one here. On the other hand, the material constraint was not fully used, which is 205 is less than or equal to 240. This indicates that labor is the limiting factor in production. If the company wants to increase profit further, they could consider hiring additional workers or offering overtime hours to increase labor availability. So we had come to the end. In conclusion, this coursework demonstrates the real-world application of algebra and linear programming. Through this activity, I have learned how to translate a real-life situation into a mathematical method, form equations and inequalities based on given information, solve systematically using the quantum point method, and also interpret the results meaningful in context. The process has deepened my understanding of how product is used beyond textbooks, and it plays a key role in optimization, planning, and resource management. It also trained me to think more logically, carefully, and analytically when solving problems. So Alhamdulillah, that brings me to the end of my presentation. Through this coursework, I realized that algebra is more than just solving equations. It is about understanding relationships, making wise decisions, and using logic to solve real problems. Thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. As As for the reflection and appreciation throughout this coursework, there were several challenges. At first, I found it difficult to understand how to form the inequalities correctly and how to interpret the meaning of feasible and indefeasible solutions. I also had to be careful with the arithmetic calculations and ensure that every constraint was satisfied. I'm proud of myself because I have successfully complete this task. However, with consistent practice, guidance, and revision, I managed to overcome these difficulties. I also referred to online resources such as Khan Academy and Lectures Note to strengthen my understanding. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to my lecturer, Puan Haja Hidawati binti Cik Mai, for her continuous guidance, advice, and motivation throughout this coursework. Her clear explanation and encouragement truly helped me complete this task successfully. Lastly, I would like to thank my classmates and also my family members, especially my mom. This class is my mother's class. So, I would like to thank my mom that support me directly and also indirectly. I am truly proud to have completed this coursework as it has given me not only mathematical knowledge but also confidence, disciplines, and appreciation for the beauty of logical thinking. So that's all from me. Bye.